Let's use this. We can use this.
Curtis is the Lady Gaga of Tennessee.
Well, there we go. I didn't see nearly as much as I would like to have seen, but I saw lots of bands that I didn't know who they were.
And you saw Paul McCartney.
And I saw Paul McCartney and I saw Diana Ross, and frankly, that was
I think that's enough. But you've been working with a legend, haven't you? Because you've just been on tour with one Barry Manilow.
Wow.
I have indeed, yes. Are we definitely recording? I didn't get a thing that said you're recording.
Yes. No.
We are definitely recording.
All right. I don't want you to fuck this up. Oh, sorry.
The more we fuck it up, the more we enjoy it, Curtis.
Good. Yes, I've been out. I just got home 2 nights ago from a UK tour with Baza, with Mr. Manilow, and it was a hell of a lot of fun. It was nice to be back in an arena after quite a while. So it was singing for 20,000 people doesn't suck.
No,
and is he a nice man?
He is very nice, very kind to me, has always been lovely. We met, Barry and I met back in the 90s when I was on Arista Records, and he basically was Arista Records. I mean, the first single that Arista Records ever released was Mandy by Barry Manilow, and it was a massive hit, obviously. And so he was the artist that built Arista. I met him then, he was very kind. And then years later, in the early aughts, when I started putting out jazz records, I started seeing comments in interviews and things by Barry Manilow saying he loved my records. I mean, he was like sort of, promoting me as, and so I reached out to him after many years and just said thank you. And at that point, I started working with his manager for a little while anyway. And I toured with him back then, but sort of back 20 years ago, something like that, 18 years ago, I opened for him an entire UK tour and an entire American tour as well. So I had done this before, but then he was very nice. To make a long story short, he was very kind to me then. He's very kind to me now. Always, when he sees me, walks over to me, gives me a hug and says, I love your music. I love what you do. He's very, very adamant about that. So, there's no accounting for his taste, but he likes me.
And obviously it would be much better for the podcast if you revealed exclusively that he was an absolute arsehole, but we can't have everything.
No, I mean, I'm sure he has his moments. I mean, anybody who is that famous and is under that kind of pressure and has been doing it for that long certainly has had their diva moments. Mm-hmm. I know that there are people that, maintain that I am an asshole because of that one morning on GMTV when I looked at them funny, but no, he's always been nothing but a gentleman. And the other thing about Barry Manilow that people don't realize or just forget is that not only is he that icon that stands up there and, it just does that thing. He's also a great musician and a great arranger. I mean, he came up writing songs. He came up arranging. So all the stuff that you hear on stage, he arranges that. And every now and then, I would watch a sound check and he'd go out and change the arrangement completely and say, no, play a B flat there. And I mean, he's a muso. Mm-hmm. And so he's a lot of fun to hang out with for somebody like me. We sit around and talk about, jazz records or, cool musicians we like.
And so in terms of being on tour and all this kind of stuff, does he have to have security? How do you kind of manage going from one place to the next and keeping fans at bay and all that kind of stuff?
Well, he has a huge staff. I mean, he has it's like an army of people that follow him around, and he's sort of whisked from here to there. You don't really see him very much. Sort of when you're on tour, he's got his own little spot that he hangs out because people would want to hang out with him all the time and be with him. So he gets whisked off at the end of the show and kind of sneaks in, but I know where he is. I know his secret location.
I think I know where he might have been, the plastic surgeons, because I think he's had a wee bit of work done, and good for him.
Steady. There are lots. I can't speak for it, but he did turn 79 on tour. And when you hit 79, you can do whatever the hell you want.
Exactly.
Whatever
I'm
you
totally
want.
with you.
We sang Happy Birthday to Mako because he turned 80.
Yeah,
Paul McCartney turned 80.
It's like the thing with Madonna that and I've mentioned this before on the podcast that generations younger don't realize what a trailblazer she was, for women, for equal pay, for gay rights and all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. And she, I think, enjoys a little visit here and there to a friend, and I think that's totally okay. It's the same with Elton John. He's Elton John. Of course, he's not going to come in wearing Primark joggies or all that kind of stuff. And I think when you've earned that legendary status, you can look how you want.
Well, I think because Bruce keeps recommending that I go and get touched up in the plastic surgery department.
I mean, she gets touched up on her own, but there's no work involved because I hear she's very lazy at the physical. But no, I've suggested a peel and maybe a bit of slicing, but it's not about Jojo today. Were you a musical child?
I loved music as a kid. Yeah. I mean, there were two things I did a lot of that, both involved sitting around and listening. One was listening to records. I was that kid who was always at the record store after school. I went to the shop, straight from school. I I had some friends, but I wasn't popular by any means. I was a bit sort of a chubby kid and that, allowed me to love music. The other thing that I'd listened to a hell of a lot of, and I think I'm not just blowing smoke up your skirt, it was comedy. I have always been obsessed with stand-up comics. I just loved, I had my mother for some reason brought home when I was in third grade. So that's it's 8 years old or something. Mm-hmm. My mother brings home a couple of records one day and they're just sitting on the counter and it's an Albert Brooks album. And he isn't really known as a stand-up comedian, but he was a great, brilliant stand-up comedian, but also famous actor, was in broadcast news and made all those great movies. So she brought home an Albert Brooks thing called Comedy Plus One. And Richard Pryor's That N-Word's Crazy. Mm-hmm. Which, first of all, that I got to listen to that record when I was 8 years old is absolutely not right, and my mother should be thrown in prison for it. But it really sent me on this path. I also watched a lot of The Tonight Show. Johnny Carson was my hero. I wanted to be a talk show host. I still want to be a talk show host. That's what you're doing. What I would love to do if I wasn't so lazy. And it's just easier for me to play guitar and sing on my show. But I saw all the comedians as they came through that mill that he had. He created careers for comedians. If you went on Carson and he laughed, you were a star.
Well, 100% it made you, didn't it?
That's what happened with Joan Rivers, I think. That's correct. She got her break on Carson. Mm-hmm. Another one that looked very, very different back in the day. As she became legendary, she altered herself.
She evolved.
Oh, yes, she did. But it's interesting you talk of comedy and comedians, because your taste is questionable. Because you know Fred Macaulay, don't you?
Well, you can't be right about everything.
No. But that's the first time I met you
Mr.
backstage
Fred.
At the stand, and it was
Indeed.
you and lovely Fred, and I think Aileen was there, and Janie Godley was there.
All right.
And Janie, that was the night that I met you, and I met Janie Godley, and that was worst night of my life.
Yeah,
I never recovered from that. Thank you, Jojo.
Scars.
I hear you.
So how did it come about that you and Fred became friends?
I met Fred on his radio show years ago when he was Radio Scotland, and I would go in there, get up at an ungodly hour to go promote, to flog my wares, to promote my shows, and he kept having me back. He was always, anytime I came to Glasgow, he'd put me on the air, and I got a kick out of him. I thought he's so smart. He's such a good guy. He's fun to talk to. So I stayed in touch with him, and And then after he left the radio, we just sort of stayed in touch. I just would email him every now and then, text him when I was coming to town. And that night, I think that was the first time I actually, broke bread with Fred and Aileen. I think we went out to dinner that night. I mean, they took me to a wonderful restaurant in Glasgow, and then we came to the Stand, and that was a wonderful night. That really was. You were so fucking funny.
Do you know that's true, actually?
Was it? Well, do you know what? I mean, everybody has to have their day in the sun. You just got lucky that night, Curtis.
Yeah, I mean, a broken clock is right twice a day, right? Is that
yes, and a travelling Glastonbury is filled with thrush, but we'll move on.
Shut up. I'm always fascinated as well when people are so successful like yourself, Curtis, that you do sort of have these ambitions or ideas of other careers that you would love to have, and the idea of being a talk show host. Would you ever consider doing stand-up comedy?
It's so terrifying. I mean, I do it sort of, in a very half-assed chicken shit way, because I can, if I get in trouble, I can just sing a song, but I do my best to, I've created a show that includes a joke here and there. And the band is sick of that same joke about my ex-wife every night. But honestly, stand-up is, I think, one of the most impressive and terrifying creative arts that I know of. I mean, you've got nothing. You don't have a saxophone hanging around your neck or a guitar. You don't have the ability to just go, la, 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 and get out of your bad joke, or you have to stand there and listen to crickets sometimes. Yeah. And so, and every, I read a lot of memoirs and books by comedians. And that's the thing that always I break out in sweat when I hear about those sets where it was just the worst set ever. And I would have quit. I've maybe auditioned 4 or 5 times in my life for things. And every time was the worst experience. I hate that. And that's what it feels like standing on stage and hearing crickets would be like, just that. That's how you develop I'm telling you how to develop a routine, in case you were wondering what goes into being stand-up.
I'm very grateful for any advice, because I'm something of a lost soul. Can I ask you, the auditions that you went on, were those for like TV, sitcoms?
The ones that I went on were more like TV commercials. I never really did audition for any proper stuff like that. I never had an agent that sent me out on movie auditions or TV auditions, which is best. I mean, I perhaps at a certain point was, had enough success and was, quote, famous enough that I could have gotten, a role or two and just sucked. I could have, so I avoided being a terrible actor. I'm not good with scripts. I just like to go, I just like
hello,
to,
Bruce.
I like
to. Honestly, it's like looking in a mirror for me. I want to ask you about Ronnie Scotts, because I'm sure you've said that that's one of your very favourite places to play.
It is.
What is it? And funnily enough, I'd mentioned Lady Gaga glibly, but she really enjoys Ronnie Scotts. What is it about Ronnie Scotts that makes it the shiz? The
shiz. It's the ideal, just physically, geographically, it's the ideal sort of dark, cool jazz club. It's got the red leather banquettes, and it's got the seats up close, and then there's the seats around the side, which are still close, but it's big enough that you can sell enough tickets. I mean, Lady Gaga does not play there to make a living. Lady Gaga goes there to sort of create a buzz about some record or tour that she's doing, or movie that she's doing. I mean, I actually make my living there. It just has a thing. I hated it before the smoking ban. I could not go. It was such a miserable place. And I played around the corner at the Pizza Express Jazz Club, which is a very cool, very nice jazz club as well, just down in Dean Street. But the Ronnie's with smoke was just miserable, and it was also in that era. It was kind of rough around the edges. I mean, it started to get a bit threadbare. The guys at the front door were always very thuggish. They just were terrifying. You'd go in and say, "Can I come in?" And they'd say "oi" a lot. I don't know why. I didn't realize they were Jewish. But anyway, thank you, hang him, hero week. That was not funny. That was not funny at all.
I'm laughing.
Anyway,
but probably for all the wrong reasons.
Yeah, you're laughing at. It's good. At is almost as good as with.
It's funny that you mentioned the smoking ban, because I remember doing a gig after the smoking ban in the Stand in Edinburgh. And a guy came up to me and went, "Jesus, it was bad enough before just having to listen to you, but now I can see you." He went, "I'm never coming back." Okay, fair enough.
That's great. That's beautiful. I owned for a very short time here I live in Boise, Idaho, a small city in the northwest part of the States. This is where I grew up. I moved off to New York for 16 years, got married, had a kid, came back to raise the kid, got divorced, still have the kid, but she lives in New York now. The little bitch. But she stole my dream life. But
I'm glad you're dealing with it well.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't seem bitter at all. It's marvelous.
I know. I'm doing fine with I was asked if I wanted to go in on buying a bar in Boise, Idaho, and it was down on Main Street. It's a very cool place that I used to play, and I'd always loved it. And it was gonna close or turn into a women's clothing store or something. So I got on board, and I said the only way I'd do it is if it becomes non-smoking, because before then, at that point, we didn't have a smoking ban here. We do now. So we made it non-smoking. It pissed off a lot of the regulars, and we had twice as many people in the place because people came back because of the smoke. Mm-hmm. But the thing that one of the other owners, kind of the main owner who owns several bars, said to me one night, we were standing and he said, "I don't really like it. You can smell the old people now."
All the other smells. When the smoking ban came in, it was, you could smell the urine and all the rest of it. But I have to say, even as a smoker, I prefer not being able to smoke inside, because it is really just gets into everything. It's horrible.
It really does. And those regulars that were all pissed off about it eventually came around and took me aside and said, "Yeah, I actually kind of like going out inside and having a cigarette. It's a little more pleasant, kind of breaks up the evening." Yeah. So good work, kid.
Yeah, it was the first time I went to New York was the first time I'd been in a non-smoking restaurant. The ban hadn't come in Scotland, and it was so much nicer to have food in, just because it wasn't honking and people coughing their guts up and gobbing spleens across the bar.
Have you ever smoked, Curtis? Is it something that you ever did at any point? No?
I tried really hard to smoke cigarettes when I was a kid. I tried, and it was I could not do it. It was agony. I've smoked other things quite a bit over the years, but it's part of my job description. So it's written into my written into my job description as a jazz musician to smoke pot.
Is marijuana illegal in Boise?
It's illegal in Boise. I never ever do it here ever. Ever.
And that's in case the mayor of Boise
is listening.
Now, can I ask you a question? Because in Pink Flamingos, the Divine film, there is a point to this. They go on a day trip to Boise. Are you near where Maryland?
No.
Right. Okay.
No, that would have been would have been a very long road trip. That would have been a 4-day road trip.
Okay.
Yeah. I love that. I saw that, but it's been many, 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 many years. So I don't remember the road trip to Boise, but no, that would be, we're on the other end of we're closer to sort of Seattle and Portland, out in the northwest part of the States. Yeah. But
on the tour,
Divine could get away with anything. Sorry, go on.
On the tour with Manilow, where was your favorite place to play?
Glasgow.
Shut up.
Well, of course, Glasgow. Are you kidding? What?
Really?
What? Are you kidding? No, it's always a riot in Glasgow. I mean, people are insane there. I mean, the audiences are just, whether they're better or not, I can't say, but they are louder and funnier. And no, it was lovely. It's a beautiful place, that hall. I mean, I played in the old, is it NEC or SECC or what?
SECC.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I played in that old one, which was just a big box. That was the first place I think I played. Well, the first place I played my own gig in Glasgow was at that place. I mean, I hit the ground running as a pop artist. I was playing the big places. First place I played in Glasgow, actually, though, was at was outdoors with Rod Stewart playing, a football stadium. What would that have been? What was the football stadium?
Hampden.
No, is there another one?
Celtic Park? The one in Falkirk?
You're totally missing. You don't. Neither of you go to a lot of football games. I'm
It's against my religion.
And I'm a girl.
And I'm a girl.
She's the world's oldest girl.
Easy.
No, it's interesting because all performers say, and I mean, I remember even going back to comedians, Jimmy Carr had always said he records his DVD in Glasgow because they're the best audiences.
Yeah.
Or the worst, they either love you or hate you. I mean, there is no middle ground.
Well, and they can also be a bit too much. I mean, I played at a smaller club back in the early aughts or mid aughts, playing my jazz thing, which at that point in particular was very much a listening thing. I mean, I never play stand-up gigs. I just don't play stand-up gigs anymore. And this was a stand-up club and they were just drunk and they yapped and they screamed. They loved us, but it was too much, because it wasn't set up correctly. And if you've got them sitting, then at least you can kind of control them. But if there's, sort of drunk ladies up front, they never said that, but I just wanted to show you how bad my Scottish accent is.
That was like an excerpt.
You nailed it.
From our own River City, which is a soap opera. That was very on brand for someone in the tall ship. What's Rod like? He seems a funny little fellow. Looks a bit like a Riddler.
He and I never really had any sort of. I met him once. I opened for him several times back then and throughout the 90s. But I mean, there was just to drop a million names. In 95, my second record came out and Elton, who's always been very sweet to me, he sort of made it so that I not only got to do a gig in the opening of the Gianni Versace store. It was this massive tall building and a big 5 or 6 story building, all Gianni Versace. I played the thing, and then afterwards he threw a party for Gianni at some fancy restaurant in Chelsea, and I got there, and it was 2 long tables, and it was everybody who was famous that you'd
Joan
ever
Collins
think
was
about.
there.
Joan Collins was there.
Yes.
I swear she was there.
Yes,
she was there. And,
yes, no, I remember the event.
And I was sitting next to Helena Bonham Carter. And which was just lovely. She was absolutely adorable and funny. George Michael was just a couple of seats down. He told me my hair looked terrible. I thought that was nice of him. So a lot of very famous people. I got up at one point and walked down the table that I was at to go to the loo, and there I see the guy who wrote all the Andrew Lloyd Webber talking to Rod Stewart. And I just said, "Hey, hello, Rod." And he's like, just looked at me like he had no idea. I had opened for him 2 nights before. Wow. I'd been talking to his wife. I mean, maybe that was it. I was talking to his wife. You know what I mean?
Was his wife was his wife then Rachel Hunter?
Rachel wasn't, and she was not at the thing. She was at home with the kids, I guess, wow. Which is maybe where I should have been. But anyway, sorry, I'm being a pig.
No, but that's fabulous, because it is interesting when you are sort of in with all these kind of incredibly famous people and the places that you play. Is there a venue that you haven't played that you would absolutely love to play?
I never played Carnegie Hall, and that, that's sort of it's a little bit, it doesn't sound very good, but it would be nice to be able to say I'd played Carnegie Hall.
We've got one in Dunfermline.
Yes,
we've got a Carnegie Hall in Dunfermline.
I've played there many times. I love Carnegie Hall. Now that's the real Carnegie Hall. No, I love I must have played at the Dunfermline Carnegie Hall 6 or 7 times. That's a great place. And a lovely little town too. It's just that one little strip. But I haven't played there in a while because I've been doing the Edinburgh Jazz Festival a lot, and they frown on me playing that close to Edinburgh.
Do they? Are they a bit
I'm on,
precious?
Yeah, there's like a 100-mile thing that in most contracts it doesn't allow you to play that close.
What music do you listen to in the car? At the gym, in the house?
I never go to the gym.
Good.
I don't believe in gyms, but I ride my bike, and I have these glasses that have speakers in them, which is, I couldn't recommend that more highly. I listen to a lot of singer-songwriters. I'm not really I'm a jazz musician. I'm supposed to be listening to jazz, but I listen to these people that most, especially Scots and Brits wouldn't even know about. A guy called Jason Isbell is one of my favorite singer-songwriters, and they're these guys that they make a lot of money and sell a lot of records to a certain crowd, but I don't tend to listen to kind of what's popular on the radio. And I also don't sort of tend to listen to new jazz artists. I listen to a lot of Ray Charles, a lot of Bonnie Raitt, a lot of John Hyatt. That's the kind of stuff. I just love good songs. And so I'm always looking for cool songs, that I can maybe turn into jazz things.
That sounds fabulous. Have you ever played Glastonbury?
I have not. No, I've never really played the big festivals. It doesn't really. I mean,
does it not appeal? Because I think that festivals are something that either appeal to people or don't.
I don't like going to them, and it's not, especially with the music that I play tends to be pretty listen-y, it's something you got to sort of sit down. So I can tell my stories, and I talk a lot in between songs. I set songs up. I back announce them. It's part of it's a show, and it's different every night, but it's still there's a spot for this and there's a spot for that. And when you're standing in front of a bunch of people, waving blow up sex dolls and and Ukrainian flags and things. It's great, but this is me saying, "Oh no, I wouldn't want to play Glastonbury. Oh, that's beneath me."
It was funny because
I was watching.
I was watching the Pet Shop Boys at Glastonbury, and in the front there was a flag that said "orgy here" and an arrow down. So I understand what you're saying about the sex doll thing. Which actually, on the streets of Nottingham, a lot of women wander around with sex dolls.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't understand that. Is that a joke?
No. Not everything's a joke, Curtis. Sometimes you have to take life seriously. Thank you. And just some women wandering around with sex dolls.
Well, maybe they've just got fed up of men. I don't know.
Oh, let's not. That's for another day, love. I know that you've not got fed up of men. You are a dog lover, dad to Hank, and you also have Ruby the dog, or is Ruby your real child?
No, Ruby's my daughter. How dare you?
Oh, right. Sir. Sorry. No.
No, we've got 4 dogs, actually. We started the pandemic with 3 dogs. And Hank's a Yorkie poo, a Yorkshire Terrier mixed with poodle. And he's a poodle. He's this little white fluffy thing, and he can stand on his hind legs as long as he wants to. He can dance around. He's got lovely guy. My wife, when we got together, had Boo, and Boo is an even smaller dog. But Hank's 5 pounds. Boo is about 2.5 pounds, and she's a Morkie. And it's just, she's barely there. She's
What's
14.
A Morkie?
She's got a Maltese.
It's a Maltese Yorkie.
Okay.
Yeah, Yorkshire Terrier. But she looks like an incredibly underfed, tiny Yorkshire Terrier. She's just like this. And she's vicious. She is by far the smallest dog. And she's 14. She's got no teeth except for molars in the back. And the rest of the other 3 dogs are terrified of her.
Wow.
She runs the joint. And then we've got a Louis is a 6-year-old Portuguese water dog. He's lovely, beautiful brown and white Portuguese water dog.
You're inventing names of dogs.
No,
I've never heard of a Portuguese water
the
dog.
The Obamas had the first Portuguese water dog in the White House.
They did, yeah. They were actually bred to I kid you not, for Portuguese fishermen, they would deliver messages between boats. They're great swimmers. They have webbed toes, and their fur sort of just froze off the water really fast. They dry out really quick, and they also apparently can. I mean, they're really smart. They can understand a certain, like a large number of words. They can actually retain words, and they apparently, I kid you not, they would herd fish into nets. That's the story with them. They also crap a lot. I know that because I pick up a lot of dog crap. Our fourth dog is since we started this, is Stanley, and Stanley is a what is he? He's a Bernedoodle. There's another name you haven't heard. He's a Bernese mountain dog and a large poodle, and he's a very big dog. He weighs about 70 pounds, and he's lovely. But he came along because my wife runs a homeless shelter, and during the pandemic, she'd be up in the middle of the night, taking calls and saving lives and trying to get homeless people who were tested positive into the COVID shelter and all. It was just crazy. So she'd be up a lot and couldn't get back to sleep. So she'd go online, and she was surfing one night and came upon this auction for a charity that she's fond of. And just to bid up the price of this one auction item, she bid on this puppy, and of course no one else fucking bid. So we ended up with a fourth dog, who is lovely and just adorable. Although he's a puppy, so he eats trees and things. He's a bit much. Anyway, that's the end of the dog talk. Unless you want to talk about.
I didn't realize you were driving the podcast, Curtis. Sorry, I forget when as a guest, not a guest.
Next on my podcast, do you, Bruce? You have a dog, right?
I do. I have her here.
She's underneath the table.
I have a jackadoodle. So she's.
We actually have a listener who has instructed us, so whenever we have guests on who have dogs, that they want a description of the dogs.
Look. What's her name?
Smidgen. She's 16 and a half. So
Jesus!
Yeah, she's the Joan Collins.
Girl, you look good.
World. There you go.
Has she had work done?
Yes, she's very good friendly with a singer you might know. His name's Barry, and they go to the same doctor.
Closer to the microphone.
Oh, sorry. Did you hear any of that?
Well,
we did.
Right. Thank you, Curtis. I'm glad someone's paying attention. I'm just being screamed at by two Harridans.
I was a harlot earlier.
They're like the twins from the Witches of Eastwick. When are you back in the UK?
Not that long. I'm playing at the Edinburgh Jazz Festival on July 16th.
Fabulous.
So 2.5 weeks from now, my pianist and I are doing a couple of nights, just playing duo in Ballycotton, Ireland, which is near Cork.
Near Cork,
there,
I know where it is because I used to, many years ago, I was a au pair at Ballymaloo, which is the fabulous hotel there and cookery school. Fancy. And Ballycotton's just along the road.
Ballymaloo, the Allen family.
The Allen
Rachel
family.
Allen.
Rachel Allen's cookery school, world famous.
Oh, I love her.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. So yes, I'm very good friends with them.
I wonder if there's a restaurant.
There's a beautiful restaurant.
Talking of my friend Wayne Elias, who lives in Bridgend, you had the best mushy peas in some place in Porthcawl. That's correct, isn't it?
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
It's not like he's stalking you or anything, Bruce. That sounds creepy.
No, well, I give up a lot of information on my Twitter feed. So we were right behind the theater. There was a little just a walk up to the counter kind of a place, and it was gorgeous. It was, wonderful fish and chips, just beautiful. I think I had the haddock.
Haddock, well, that's very Scottish because we have haddock in Scotland and it's more cod in England. So Wales probably. They had the haddock choice, and I went that way. Very wise.
I felt good.
The Jazz Festival, how long? Because I forget, obviously, because we're narcissistic, and I think the Edinburgh Festival is August, and that's our time. I forget that the festival does start beforehand. So, but the Jazz Festival is more than a day, isn't it? It is. Are you just coming in for a day?
Yeah, it's very quick, unfortunately, this time, because I've got, we get in late on the 15th, and then we have a 6 a.m. flight out of the Edinburgh airport the next day on the 17th to get to Germany. So it's going to really hurt. I mean, I don't even really see a reason to go to bed at that point. I think you just get a bottle of Bally something, and you just go.
Bally bourbon.
Yes, a nice bottle of malt.
Yeah, exactly. Just a single. So I think unfortunately, it will be a short trip this time around. I've spent a lot of time in Edinburgh, actually. The last time I was there, my daughter Ruby came with me too. We had a lovely time. I was playing, but I was also taking time off in between and hanging out with her, and we had some good fun. Showed her. I gave her a tour of the heroin addicts. So it was nice.
Oh, lovely. Yes. I educate them early. That's what I say.
Yes.
I think that's in a different area from where I live.
How old is Ruby?
Ruby's now 22.
Wow.
She's a grown woman. Yeah, it's really it just gets more and more fun too. She's a riot. She was always a great kid, and she was a road kid. Actually, she took her first steps in the Moat House on the River Clyde, which is now another hotel, but right there next to the the SECC.
Yes, it's now the Crown Plaza.
That's exactly
right. And so she took her first steps there when she was, I guess, 1, and I was on tour, and we went down as we were checking out of the hotel. We'd stopped in the gift shop, and we were so excited. We told the little lady at the counter that Ruby had she said, "Oh, she's such a wee, cute daughter." I had terrible accent. Sorry. Anyway, Ruby was very cute, and so she was fawning over her, and we said, well, she just took her first steps upstairs, and she said, "Oh, just a moment." She went back and came out, and I've got a wee coo for her. We were like, You've got what? She's a child. Don't get weird. She said, "We've got a wee coo," and she gave her a cow, of course, a wee coo, and it was this little stuffed coo that is still somewhere in in a memory box. This cute little wee coo. So anyway, that was the mushy part of the podcast.
I'm loving the channeling of Mrs. Doubtfire.
I know. I thought exactly the same. I thought it was very Mrs. Doubtfire. Hello, wee coo.
It's funny actually, because I remember taking my first something or other in the Moat House Hotel.
We're going to go off on a tangent. I just know it. We do it every time.
It was a throwaway comment, thank you. And she laughed.
Very nice.
So what date are you on the Edinburgh Jazz Festival? The 17th?
16th.
It's the 16th. Yeah, I'll be there. So please. No, are you in Edinburgh? I thought you were in Glasgow, Bryn.
No, I live in Edinburgh. Let's meet for a drink.
Well, I think we should. That's a good idea.
Yes, I will.
All right. Well, we are connected. We know how to get in touch with each other.
We are connected.
As it gets closer, let's.
Yeah, we can whet your reed.
Are you going back to the memory of the Moat House?
No. It was pills. No, definitely. Yes, I will give you a shout, my good man.
Lovely.
Yes. Well, thank you very much for talking to us. It's been fantastic.
It's been lovely.
And I can't believe
that's all.
You were at the event with Joan Collins.
I know. I won't be joining you on the 16th because I have the pleasure of Nottingham Glee.
Goodness. Things are going well for Jojo if she's in Nottingham where the sex dolls roam the streets. Not funny, but true.
We didn't even get to talk about my friend Nick Revel. Aren't you both?
Oh, we are big friends with Nick Revel. In fact, I saw Nick Revel very recently because he writes some of the material for Jonathan Pye. Because Jonathan Pye, so I do Jonathan Pye's tour support. And so...
Oh, do you?
Yeah. So
doesn't like to mention it.
I do like to mention it all the time and shut your actual face. Exactly. Thank you. Did Hammersmith Apollo. Mm-hmm. So yes, so I saw Nick quite recently when we were
the bar. She did the bar in Hammersmith Apollo.
That's where Nick would have been as well, for sure. Yeah.
Do you know? I love it's Muriel, isn't it?
Yeah, Muriel is. Yeah,
because she reminds me of Jean Brodie.
Does she?
Yes, there's something about that. She's very like the Maggie Smith character. No, they're a lovely couple.
Yeah, they're the best. I had when I played with Barry when we did the O2, we had a night off the night before, and I actually drove the van the SUV that I was driving around the UK. I drove it all the way to where they live in North London and had dinner. I tend to have dinner at their house when I arrive in London. The night I arrive, I'll get in, at 10 in the morning, sleep for a few hours, and then go to their place and drink gin and tonics until I can't see. This time I drank fewer because I was driving, but still.
Well, it was funny. The last time I saw Nick was in Newcastle, and he found me asleep on the bar of the Powerhouse. Yeah, so I'd had a bit of a night of it.
Oh dear.
He is lovely. Yeah, because you tweeted me that you that you'd seen them, and all that kind of stuff. They're the best. They're some of my dearest friends in the world, and it's they were threatening to move to Edinburgh, but he's been so busy, especially with the Jonathan Pye thing, that they've sort of put that on hold. I think I'm probably giving away too many trade secrets here, but I only just found out that he was working with Jonathan Pye lately and I mean, it's a perfect
it's great. It's absolutely because he's so good at writing rants. So it's perfect.
It indeed. Yeah. Rants and the political stuff and the really smart stuff. And he's great. I love his, he doesn't do stand up nearly enough in my opinion anymore. He's a lazy bastard.
Yeah. Well, that's what happens. Because he's very funny, but because again, I was with Tom, who plays Pye, and we got very drunk. But
you enjoy that?
I love getting drunk. There is a theme, definitely with me.
Would you like to tell him what happened to you?
No.
No? Okay, that's fine.
What do you mean what happened to
me? With your car?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I went to Glastonbury, and I might have got very drunk. And then I lost my car key. I lost my car key at Glastonbury. And I never found my car key. What I did come back with, I came back with the same lighter that I went with for my cigarettes. I was able to hang on to that.
Do you know what
I wasn't able to hang on to my fucking car keys.
Do you know why? Because they found it and they've sent it to Beyonce to wear as a clip-on earring for Coachella. Anyway,
the upshot was we had to smash my car window and get a locksmith out, but the locksmith couldn't open the door. It was a nightmare that was actually incredibly funny.
So when you drove back, did you not have a window?
I didn't have a window from Glastonbury to Gloucester. I had a black bin bag, and then decided that wasn't the best way to get back to Scotland. So we stayed in a travel lodge, and then went and found somebody to fit a window the next day.
I'm never keen on a travel lodge, I have to say. I don't like the way they term a pedal bin as an ensuite. No. That doesn't fill me with joy.
I also don't like the fact that you can't just walk into a travel lodge and say, "Can I have a room?" You can. And they go, "No, you have to apply on the app." So I had to
apply?
Yeah. It's basically it's a lottery.
Were you for housekeeping? Hello, I'm a scrubber and wishing to do so.
Could I have a bed for the night?
She's got a new job in Gloucester.
Oh
my!
But you can't just go in and go to reception and book a room anymore.
Listen, do you know? Are you familiar with the shop Marks and Spencers, Curtis?
Of course.
Well, their return policy is just atrocious at the moment. I'm not at the right weight and having to go to a graduation tomorrow and was trying to buy things that didn't make me look like some kind of red coat. And I couldn't take stuff back because it wasn't in the corresponding bag. And the woman wouldn't help me. And I said, "Bitch, please, just get this refunded or I will have to speak to your manager."
Wow.
Yeah.
Karen.
Yeah. Well, no, funnily enough, her name was Karen. And she was being a bit of a Karen. And I said, "Don't be a stereotype, love.
No, exactly.
Just get the money back on my card."
Yes.
Or I'll phone
do one.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to make you mad. I feel that would be a
it's very funny when he gets cross.
Do you know something? The only way to make me mad is to buy me single measures. So remember, I like a double fisting.
A double, okay. I'll keep it in mind. Keep it in mind for for Edinburgh.
Yes. Oh, well, I will see you next month.
Well, I'm going to miss
Good.
out on that, but hopefully I'll get the opportunity another time.
Yes.
One of these days we'll get drunk
Yes.
without Bruce, and we'll talk about him.
Yeah, well, totally.
Seems to be a theme. The rebels certainly enjoy that, don't they? So you can tell them that I'm speaking to my solicitor. And if you speak to Nick and Muriel, tell them I said hi.
Yes, do send
I shall.
send them
I
our
shall
love.
for both of you.
Right. Thank
Great.
you very much,
All right, well,
sir.
it's lovely to speak with
Yeah,
you.
you
It was
too.
really fun.
Really,
Nice
thank
way
you
to
so
wake up.
much for giving us your time. We much appreciate it.
Thank you.
Oh, what's that?
Oh,
Oh.
Godspeed, Robin. Hello. Bye, love.
Bye-bye. See you later, Coo.